The Arizona summer shows no mercy. In late July, Phoenix temperatures soared above 105 degrees Fahrenheit day after day. My name is Melissa Hamilton, a 35-year-old Italian-American. At 5 a.m., before the sun peaks over the horizon, I'm already out jogging my usual route. I pass through the quiet residential streets of the Arcadia district, heading east on Indian School Road. Just as sweat begins trickling down my neck, the morning sun starts to rise from the horizon. This is how my day begins. When I return home, my 8-year-old daughter Caitlin is still sound asleep. Her brown hair looks just like mine. I'll style it into cute pigtails again today. Peeping into her room, I notice her science textbook left open by her pillow. She must have been studying diligently again last night. I secretly take pride in her maintaining top grades in her class. I shower, fix my hair, and put on my glasses. The reflection in the mirror is exactly what you'd expect of a product development manager at a Johnson & Johnson pharmaceutical subsidiary. I select my suit, finish my makeup, and start preparing breakfast. Mom, good morning. Caitlin's voice echoes through our quiet house as she runs down the stairs. Her smile is my whole world. Good morning, Katie. We're having pancakes today. I added plenty of blueberries. Yay! I love your pancakes, Mom. Over breakfast, Caitlin excitedly tells me about yesterday's science class, how her experiment was successful and her teacher praised her, how she's keeping an observation diary with her friends. The sparkle in her eyes is so bright, you'd never guess she experienced her parents' divorce 3 years ago. My divorce from David was amicable. He works as a pediatrician at Phoenix General Hospital. With his gentle nature, he continues to be a responsible father to our daughter, never missing his bi-weekly weekend visits. Dad's taking me to the zoo this Sunday. I smiled gently at Caitlin's words. David remarried 2 years ago. His wife, Rachel Smith, is 42 and the head nurse at the same hospital. She's known for being reliable at work, with her distinctive neat black bob haircut. After dropping off my daughter at school, I head to my office near Scottsdale Medical Center. Having recently been promoted, I'm busy leading a new drug development project. Still, the work is fulfilling. My colleagues trust me, and the project is progressing smoothly. In the evening, I pick up Caitlin from after-school care. On our way home, we make it a point to share the day's events with each other. We always have dinner together. Sometimes it might be something simple, but I try to cook homemade meals whenever possible. After dinner, I spend precious time with my daughter while helping with her homework. On weekends, we enjoy shopping at Whole Foods Market or having brunch at True Food Kitchen. This has become our cherished routine. Sometimes, we treat ourselves to some luxury shopping at Kierland Commons. Every moment spent with my daughter is an irreplaceable treasure. I maintain a good relationship with David's parents. They take care of Caitlin one weekend each month, and I'm often invited to join them for dinner. Even after the divorce, our family bonds remain unchanged. 3 years have passed, and we had established a new rhythm in our lives. Balancing weekday work and childcare, weekend family time, and bi-weekly visits with her father. Everything was stable, our days peaceful. The annual summer vacation. My daughter and I were excited about our long-awaited trip to the Grand Canyon. At that time, we had no way of knowing that this journey would dramatically change our lives. We had meticulously planned our Grand Canyon trip well before Caitlin's summer break began. We were scheduled to spend 3 days immersed in nature, just mother and daughter. To nurture her interest in science, I had included educational tours about geological formation processes and ecosystems. "Katie, is your new camera fully charged?" The night before departure, I called out while checking our checklist in the living room. The small digital camera was her birthday present, chosen specifically for this trip. Both the battery and spare are full. I also prepared my observation notebook. Caitlin proudly showed me her brand new notebook. The cover carefully read, "Grand Canyon Research Project by Caitlin Hamilton." Such meticulousness reminds me of myself. I loaded the cooler into the car the night before, packed with drinks and snacks. Arizona summers are brutal. Staying hydrated is crucial. I was especially careful with temperature control, including extra ice packs. Departure day. I woke up before the alarm clock, which showed 5 a.m. Caitlin, who had risen earlier than usual, was already waiting for breakfast in the living room, wearing a light blue dress and her new backpack. "Mom, let's go." "Breakfast first, honey. You need to eat properly." While calming my eager daughter, I prepared a simple breakfast. By 6 a.m., we were leaving home. Our SUV quietly drove through the early morning streets, before the sun had fully risen. "Can I play some music?" "Of course, but not too loud." Caitlin's favorite playlist started playing in the car. She occasionally hummed along while watching the scenery outside. As we left the city and entered the highway, the sunrise illuminated the desert landscape vividly. "I'm hungry." "Yes, let's have breakfast soon." As planned, we got breakfast at a drive-thru. Caitlin chose a cheeseburger and orange juice. Coffee and a bagel were enough for me. While eating in the parking lot, we reviewed our plans. About 3 hours to the Grand Canyon. We'll take breaks along the way. Are there really dinosaur fossils? That's right. We can see them at the museum. About an hour after resuming our drive, the car's digital clock showed 10 a.m. The outside temperature had climbed above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and we had the air conditioning running strong. Caitlin was writing something in her observation notebook in the back seat. That's when it happened. "Mom, the air conditioning smells weird, my head hurts." Checking the rearview mirror, I could see her complexion had turned pale. "What kind of smell? Are you feeling okay?" There was a hint of tension in my voice. "A sweet smell. I feel nauseous." My instincts immediately sensed danger. Sweet odor, headache, nausea. This wasn't just motion sickness. I immediately pulled over to the shoulder and turned off the engine. I got Caitlin out of the car to breathe fresh air. While taking out my ID from my wallet, I was already dialing 911. "We'll send emergency services and police. Please provide your current location." The operator's voice rang out calmly. While relaying our GPS coordinates, I checked the air conditioning vent. There was an unfamiliar cloth stuffed inside. With my pharmaceutical background, I instinctively knew it had been used as a medium for something. On the scorching roadside, I held Caitlin close, waiting for the approaching sound of sirens. From this moment, our peaceful daily life would change dramatically. At that time, no one could have imagined the terrifying truth lurking behind this incident. The ambulance arrived first, followed by 2 police cars sliding onto the scene with sirens blaring. Under the scorching sun, I held Caitlin tight while watching the scene unfold. The heat rising from the asphalt made the tense atmosphere even heavier. "Mrs. Hamilton." The paramedics rushed over. They quickly checked Caitlin's condition and began detailed examinations in the ambulance. Her blood pressure, heart rate, and temperature were within normal range. However, the nausea and headache persisted. When I gently wiped the sweat from her forehead, Caitlin managed a weak smile. "Call Dad." "Yes, right away." As I reached for my phone, a paramedic approached. "There's a possibility of chemical poisoning. We need detailed tests at the hospital." I had the same thought. From my experience in the pharmaceutical industry, I could make some educated guesses based on the symptoms. Sweet odor, headache, nausea. These symptoms suggested the effects of specific drugs. However, it was too early to be certain. I carefully watched as police officers collected the cloth from the air conditioning as evidence. The evidence was carefully sealed in bags and labeled. One of the investigators approached me. He was a tall man, probably in his 50s. "Could you please tell us exactly what happened?" Moving to the shade of a police car to avoid the sun, I explained the sequence of events from departure to the incident as accurately as possible. The timeline, nature of the odor, progression of symptoms. I supplemented the situation from a professional perspective, drawing from my pharmaceutical company experience. The detective's hand moved quickly, taking notes. "Have there been any changes in your routine lately, or anything unusual?" "Nothing special, although we had been planning this trip for a month, and I think my daughter had been talking about it at school." The investigator's expression turned thoughtful. "It will take time to analyze the substance found in the air conditioning. We'll work on identifying it along with your daughter's blood test results. We'll conduct a thorough examination of the scene." Caitlin was transported to the hospital by ambulance. I wanted to ride along, but the police said they needed further questioning. I agreed to cooperate with the investigation after confirming my daughter's safety. As the on-scene investigation continued under the blazing sun, I realized the gravity of the situation. "Mrs. Hamilton, did you notice any suspicious individuals around your car from last night to this morning?" I traced back through my memories of the previous night. The car had been parked in our home garage. While we don't have security cameras, several neighbors do. I remembered that the house across the street had recently installed high-performance cameras. We'll need to check the street surveillance cameras. We're also starting to interview nearby residents. The detective nodded. Young investigators had already begun questioning neighbors. Sweat stains spread across the backs of their humid uniforms. The wait for hospital test results felt abnormally long. In the waiting room, I pondered the background of the incident. Was this a random accident, or a planned crime? In the air-conditioned waiting room, I clutched my phone with trembling hands. At 3 p.m., the test results finally came in. The substance detected in her blood was, as suspected, midazolam, a sleep-inducing drug. It's a medication used in hospitals. This discovery brought a new direction to the investigation. This medication is only available through medical institutions. It should be under strict control. The detective shot me a sharp look at my explanation. The scope of suspects had narrowed to medical professionals. The room's atmosphere tensed for a moment. The surveillance camera footage analysis was progressing. Around 2 a.m. last night, cameras had captured someone in black clothing lurking near our home. While the face wasn't visible, the body type suggested it was a woman. Something about the way they walked seemed familiar. "Mrs. Hamilton, do you know anyone who works in medical facilities?" With that question, one possibility surfaced in my mind. A constricting feeling in my chest. My ex-husband works as a pediatrician. I know several people at the hospital. I could hear my voice trembling slightly. The investigation steadily progressed. Identifying the drug's procurement route. Detailed analysis of surveillance camera footage. Interviewing related parties. Then, decisive evidence was found. The access records for the hospital's drug storage. These records, normally strictly managed, showed an unusual gap. Between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. only a limited number of people had authorization to enter the storage during those hours. The police officer's expression changed momentarily upon checking the records. And gradually, the perpetrator's identity emerged. A methodical crime. Someone with medical knowledge. Someone who knew our movements. All evidence pointed in one direction. In my mind, one person's image became crystal clear. After overnight observation, Caitlin had fully recovered her energy. She was organizing photos in her observation notebook in the hospital room, as if nothing had happened. However, great anxiety swirled in my heart. If that person was behind this incident. Late that night, police made an urgent contact. New surveillance footage had been found. A parking lot security camera. It clearly showed Rachel. Though wearing a black hoodie, her distinctive walk and body type matched perfectly. The footage captured her leaving through the hospital's back entrance near the drug storage late at night. The arrest was made the next morning in the hospital staff parking lot. As she arrived for work, her black bob haircut perfectly groomed and wearing her head nurse's dignified expression, police officers handcuffed her. Surrounding colleagues watched the scene in disbelief. "Rachel Smith, you're under arrest for attempted murder." Rachel nodded quietly without resistance. At that moment, her usual composed demeanor vanished, replaced by deep exhaustion. The house search uncovered decisive evidence one after another. A notebook recording our movements hidden deep in her bedroom closet. A map with detailed routes to the Grand Canyon. Midazolam ampoules and syringes. Everything had been perfectly planned. Her computer history revealed traces of meticulous preparation over the past 3 months. Research on drug effects and administration methods. Procedures to make it look like an accident. Records of my and Caitlin's daily routines. It showed an obsessive level of fixation. During questioning, Rachel calmly admitted to the crime. However, her words revealed the distortion of emotions she had carried for years. "I've always been someone's replacement." That statement began her full confession. She had failed 7 IVF attempts since marriage. Her age of 42 was pressing on her. And every time she saw David and Caitlin's relationship, her feeling of being just a substitute grew stronger. "At first, I just wanted to be Caitlin's mother. But..." Her voice trembled. "When I heard the news about Melissa's promotion, something broke inside me. She has everything. Youth, career, memories with David, and Caitlin." The planning began then. Using her position as head nurse to secure free access to the drug storage. Taking out necessary drugs during night shifts. When she learned of our trip plans, she thought it was the perfect opportunity. I intended to make it look like an accident. The sleeping car falling off a cliff, but Melissa noticed too quickly. As expected of a pharmaceutical company expert. Her words carried both irony and a sense of resignation. I just wanted to be real. Not someone's replacement, but a real wife, a real mother, but everything was fake. I myself was fake. Rachel's mental state gradually became clear. The growing loneliness with each failed fertility treatment. A heart torn between perfect evaluation at work and feeling like a substitute at home. The frustration of not being able to monopolize David's affection. All of Caitlin's mom words are directed at her. I'm just Rachel. That was unbearable. Under the fluorescent lights of the interrogation room, deep shadows marked Rachel's face. The traces of setbacks accumulated over 42 years and twisted emotions were etched in her expression. Melissa's success felt like it was negating my existence. The more she shined, the more I became a shadow. So I thought I'd make her disappear. The confession lasted 5 hours. During this time, Rachel detailed every aspect of her plan. The reason for choosing the drug, research on administration methods, all the preparations aimed at perfect execution. The precision reflected her professionalism as a nurse. If I had succeeded that day, maybe I could have become a real mom. With those final words, Rachel heaved a deep sigh. The interrogation room clock showed 9 p.m. Outside the window, darkness had already fallen. David learned of this fact late that night. When he rushed to the police station after receiving a call from a hospital colleague, his expression mixed deep sadness and confusion. No one had understood the depth of darkness his wife had been harboring. I received this series of reports in Caitlin's hospital room. My daughter was sleeping peacefully. She still doesn't know that her life was endangered by her stepmother's distorted love. A month has passed since the incident. Phoenix's summer remains harsh. Leaving the psychologist's office, I reflected on the events of the past month. Rachel has been indicted and awaits trial. David continues going to the hospital daily with an exhausted expression. I could see the fierce conflict between his mission as a doctor and regret as a husband. How could I not have noticed? Last week's words from our cafe conversation still echo in my ears. He spoke about his days with Rachel while heaving deep sighs. How her smile gradually hardened with each failed fertility treatment. How he sensed something off about her desperate attempts to be the perfect wife but looked away. Melissa, I'm truly sorry for putting you and Caitlin in danger. His voice was filled with deep self-reproach. Although we had maintained a good relationship since our divorce, this incident cast a new shadow. Caitlin attends child psychology counseling twice a week. Fortunately, she doesn't seem to fully understand the essence of the incident. Still, the sudden environmental changes have had some impact on her. Hey, Mom. Dad looks sad, doesn't he? Caitlin said quietly during dinner one day. In her own way, she must sense her father's emotional pain. Dad's just a bit tired right now. But he loves you just as much as ever, sweetie. I try to stay cheerful in front of my daughter. However, when I'm alone at night, the terror of that day sometimes suddenly resurfaces. Every time I hear the air conditioning, I feel a chill run down my spine. David's parents are also deeply pained by this situation. His mother, in particular, seems to blame herself for accepting Rachel as family. If only I had noticed her loneliness. During Sunday brunch, she quietly wiped away tears. Afterward, she offered to take care of Caitlin twice a week. She's quietly supporting the mother-daughter recovery. In counseling, I faced various emotions. Fear, anger, and strangely enough, even a kind of sympathy for Rachel. The counselor explained that this was natural as part of the healing process. The compassion in your heart hasn't been lost. That's a wonderful thing. A new rhythm of life gradually took shape. David temporarily requested a transfer from pediatrics. He said he needed time to rebuild himself. The hospital administration accepted his decision with understanding. Caitlin gradually regained her spirit. She resumed her science club activities and started a new observation diary. Though she occasionally shows anxious expressions, following the counselor's advice, we decided to protect her pace without rushing. "Mom, let's go to the Grand Canyon again." When Caitlin said this the other day, tears welled up in my eyes. Those words carried a small courage to keep moving forward. David also began showing signs of recovery. Every Wednesday evening, he started joining us for dinner. The time we spend together as three people, listening to Caitlin's school stories, feels like it's nurturing a new form of family bond. Now, 3 months after the incident, our lives are showing definite changes. I've resumed my morning jogs, and on holidays, we go to the farmer's market as a family. Though the scars remain, the strength to move forward while carrying them is gradually growing. Everyone gets lost somewhere in life. I remember the counselor's words. What's important is having someone to reach out when you're lost, and having the courage to take that hand. Our new steps were beginning right there. Outside the window, Arizona's scorching summer was coming to an end, with gentle autumn hints beginning to drift in. Like the changing seasons, our lives too were moving forward into a new chapter.